A huge welcome back to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. You join us for season 11 episode. John, what? I've lost the plot. I'm still in Coniston mode here. Could be episode 8.
It's the one that followed the last one. I think we're all a wee bit fuzzy about the head, but we promised warts and all, and that's what we're going to do.
We are fuzzy about the head. It is the immediate aftermath to what has been another epic weekend down in Coniston and surrounding area, and we're going to catch up with Mr. John Cassidy and our Yorkshire correspondent herself, Mel Sykes. Welcome, guys. How are we feeling?
Mel?
Tired and sore feet. Fat sore feet. Very fat sore feet. What about you, John?
I can tie into the tired thing. My feet are all right. Other bits of me are kind of sore, but my feet are okay. But I think that's one thing we can maybe talk about as well, just in general for folk, because feet would have been affected by the people doing the 50 or the 100. Because, and I think something we might speak about as well, like conditions on the course. But I'm feeling all right. I'm needing another good night in my bed, if I'm honest. I'm not fully alert yet, so that's where I am just now. Yeah.
For the benefit of our listeners, we're on Monday. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Hence
We
the
think.
reason. We think it's Monday. Yeah. Yes, it definitely is. And yeah, I can also relate to how tired you're feeling. Not so much the parts of tiredness that are due to running and moving and such like, more just being on the go for a little while. That long haul flight feeling, so to speak. Post long haul flight. That's where I am. But anyway, let's cast our minds back. It was just a week ago, we're saying just before we pressed record, a week ago that we spoke to Mel and John about how they were feeling pre-race. If you didn't catch that, you maybe want to go back and listen to it, because it'll all tie together, we hope. Shan't it? But Friday is the day of the mass arrival in Coniston. It's all systems go down at the John Ruskin School, which is the race base, the race HQ, where the festival all happens. And I just want to kind of work through the weekend in order of what it happened. A lot happened, so I don't know how this could be a 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
Once we edit it, it'll be around about an hour, but it could turn into an epic. But let's start at the start. Logistics, pre-race, arrivals, everything going to plan, Mel, for you?
Yep, yeah, everything to plan. So I originally was going to drive up, set off maybe like late morning and aim to get there early afternoon. But I ended up waking up really early Friday morning anyway. I think you just get a little bit giddy and you never really sleep so well the night before an event anyway, do you? So I was up and bouncing about at home. So I think I left home maybe about 6:15 in the morning. So, and by the time I got to Coniston, they were already queuing to get into the school and into the parking area. But I was hoping to get in the field that we were in this time, you know, the one actually near the event, because last time when I got there later afternoon, I was right at the far end of the other field, which is fine because it's nice and quiet, but you kind of miss out on some of the atmosphere of the race and the buzzing about after registration when you're so far away. Plus, it's a bloody long way to walk to the toilets from that other field. And when I knew after I'd done race, I wouldn't want to be shuffling too far. So yeah, queued to get into the field, but yeah, there were no problems with parking or anything. They were on the ball, weren't they, waving people in and getting everyone parked a certain space away, got tent put up. Yeah, all good for parking and getting sorted.
John, you and I travelled down together.
We did. Very grateful. Let's get it noted and recorded. Very grateful for you driving both directions. I did offer to drive down because you were going to be driving home, but you very kindly Or didn't they want me to drive your car, maybe? But very kindly drove down. Can't talk about that without talking about our traditional breakfast at base camp,
Of course.
just past Penrith on the A66. Wonderful meal, as always. And we had a good chat with our good friend Jan, lady that works there. Every time we go there, Jan is there. It's almost like she's got it in her diary. But we had a good chat, a good catch up with her. A wee note, if there's two guys there and they want toast with their breakfast, they want 2 slices each, not one each. We had to order extra toast. That was the only downside to that, but we never let it dishearten us. But breakfast was good. Also got to say as well, it was the quickest travel I think we've ever had. That's the 3rd or the 4th time we've been to the lakes. And we arrived between 12:30 and 1:15. We got a wee pitch, not far from Mel, actually, as it turned out. It was fine. And Mel touched on something there, actually. The very first bit you hit about the organisation of the event. The people doing the parking just right on the ball. Nothing's any hassle. If you're not allowed to park, they tell you very politely. But if you are involved, I mean, we were going down with a sort of social media flag, waving that, and the guy says, yeah, no problem, just waved us into that field, and we got parked up, no problem. Yeah. I went to get registered. You got the jackal up.
I got the jackal up. And Mel, we've got matching jackals.
We have, yeah, matching tents.
I don't know, maybe a wee sponsorship deal on the off in here if we put snazzy pictures to our, because we're that influencers, maybe get a wee jackal V 4.0 because we've got jackal 3s. If you're listening, yeah, we do. Jackal 3.
And there's a new version?
I don't know, but there might be. There might be, and our feedback is essential because there's a couple of wee improvements that I think they could build into the Jackal 4. But anyway, it is the Lake District roads, pretty well known that it takes longer. It's 7 miles, for example, Ambleside to Coniston when we're coming from up north. Yeah, but that 7 miles can take 30 minutes to cover, such as the narrowness, the bottlenecks, etc., etc. And when you have, how many runners do you think partook at the weekend?
I don't know. I saw different things really. I think what I saw was 2,000 all in, but I'm not sure how accurate that was. I think there were 756. Somebody said started our race. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the 50. I'm not sure how many were in that, but a lot.
Yeah, well, it's circa 2,000, and then all their associated supporters, hangers-on people who are there for the party side. More on that later. And all the other race volunteers, logistics. Coniston's a little village, and it's not usually as used to the influx of people arriving as happens on the last weekend in July every year. So you have to be patient. That's where I'm getting it. Patient with other people, patient with other drivers, patient to the marshals who are all there, giving up their time to help you, etc., etc. But you can feel when you arrive, well, I did anyway, that typical buzz and excitement and vibe that goes about the place. This year's theme was Top Gun. Mel, you had a rival outfit.
Oh, I did, yeah. I bought a vest that said "Talk to me, Goose" off eBay, and so I wore that. I am going to say something. I have never seen Top Gun, the film, and Robbo is really disappointed in me for that. So when I bought the T-shirt and told him I'd got it, he wasn't very pleased because he was like, "Well, you never seen it." I have tried to watch it. I think we've tried to start watching it 3 times, but it just. No, I don't do films very well anyway. I don't think I've got the attention span for them. But yeah, I've never seen the original one. But I tried to get involved.
I'm sure Rob will be cool with that. Tom Cruise will be disappointed, but that's okay. That's all right.
Rob will express his disgust at it to me on Saturday evening.
What about not seeing the film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just for a good 15 minutes, he was expressing that.
And that's how high tempo the chat was, Mel. That's what was happening.
Anyway, you get there, you get set up. The next thing you do is hit the big queue for registration, which is busy, and you say the word earlier, Mel, giddy. Do you know, when you wake up in the morning, you used to get that when you went on summer holidays and things.
Yeah.
You know, now you're doing it when you're going to run 100-mile races, but everybody's got that feeling there. So it's quite a nervous energy in the queue for kit check. But kit check, did everything go okay? Did you fly through that, Mel?
Yes, yeah, absolutely fine. I'd felt like I was prepared, got everything in my bag for life. So turned up at the table. Again, all the volunteers and everything, you go there, scan your QR code, ID, kit check, dumped it all out onto the table. She just lobbed it all back into the kit check, drew a little smiley face on my hand, tracker, photo, see you later. Job's a good one. John?
John, I was setting up the jackal. You went to go kit check.
Yeah, I had to go and buy soft flask first because I forgot mine. But
Fanny.
oh yeah, Premier Fanny. But as is with the lakes, they've got everything organised. If you forget something, you can go and buy it. Everything just lined up there. So I had to go and buy some soft flask first. But a similar experience to Mel. What was good, and sorry, just to go back a wee bit, how many runners were there? Too many, in my opinion. It was a bit crazy. Even registration, you could see people getting a wee bit, because people. I remember I never felt it this time, but I remember the first time I went to Lakes, I was getting a bit stressed. I'm not going to get through registration for 4 o'clock, and it's going to close, and then what am I going to do? Got to come back. So that was evident. I've never seen the queue for registration as long. It was out onto Lake Road from at one point.
Mhm.
What was beneficial for me, if you were a 100 runner, you were being taken through, getting a wee bit. It's like being in that speed aisle at an airport for security. But when I actually got to the front to the place, that's probably 5 or 6 minutes from the minute I got checked in with my QR code to get my kit check done. Smiley face, off you go. I think I got a cross. Maybe that was a
There's
sign
only
of what was to
one.
come.
There was one lady dishing out smiley faces. So, you know, when you went to the kit check
Yeah.
table, the first lady on the left was putting smiley faces on people's hands. All the rest were putting crosses on. So if you got the lady on the end, you got a smiley face.
There you go. Well, I had a smiley person that was helping me. She was very nice and very helpful. But then, yeah, and that was quite seamless, which I was happy for. But I did feel for the people who were, all day pottering about, or I was pottering about, seeing people stuck in that queue, and it must have been getting quite frustrating for them. So, but then we spoke to Nick Somerton, who's
Yep.
listening to the podcast. We spoke to Nick, who was one of the volunteers. In case I forget, massive thank you to all the volunteers that give up their time to make it happen. He'd actually come in earlier than he was meant to start on his shift for registration because there was so many people. So they put the call out, and people like Nick were rolling up early to rock in and help out. So phenomenal logistics around it all. But
yeah, and everybody like reiterating what John says. You know, the time and effort that I seen some of the volunteers put in over the weekend is astonishing. So, yeah, thank you to each and every one. Just a wee story on the little cross that you had on the back of your hands, just to say that that's your completed kit check or a smiley face. I was speaking to Gilly Marshall, Aldo's other half. We're sitting having a wee chat, and I was saying, "What are you up to? And doing this?" "Oh, yeah, fine. I noticed like she had like this big black mark down the side of her cheek, and I didn't like to say it. It was a bit cheeky. And then Aldo come over and says, "What's that on your bus?" And she says, "What?" I says, "Oh, I thought like you were taking like a wee operation, and it was where the thing." But anyway, she'd went for a wee lie down after going to kit check and kind of went to sleep on her side of her arm, and our cross had then appeared on the side of her neck. So we're having a good laugh at that, as Aldo tempted me with the theme of what was happening at Ambleside without actually telling me as well, just to tease me. Maybe more on that later, because Amble Pride rather, was its usual raucous self. Okay, so race start, it's at an unusual race start time, isn't it? 6 p.m. We spoke about that last week. How were you feeling up until the race start? When time flies, time just kind of rinses away to nothing. Mel.
Yeah, it went quicker than I expected. I thought we're getting there so early. I thought it was going to be a bit of a drag for the day, but by the time you've put the tent up, gone through kit check, seen everybody that you know, have a bit of a chat, and then try to have something to eat, packed your bag back up. It soon goes, and obviously the race briefing then for our race was at 4:30, so that's sort of you ain't got really any time after that towards the race start to do anything else. So 4:30 is really your time to have everything sorted by, and it just seemed to go really quick. So yeah, I didn't feel like we were. You've got that like nervous energy, and you just want to get going by then, don't you? But there is enough time to get everything sorted. So, but I wasn't overly a fan of the 6 o'clock start time, just for getting your eating sorted and that sort of thing. I do prefer on a morning, but if you did the same all the time, then life won't be exciting, would it? So
This is very true. And I think what I observed from a non-race participant's point of view was there's a lot of reuniting with people that you've not seen since last year, or people meeting you for the first time that you've maybe come into contact with on social media, or for John and I, we've maybe had them on as a guest on the show, and there's that meeting new people and energy getting burned. And I was kind of trying to shuffle John away and hide him, but he's no easily hidden, is he? And he was, his high-low level was fair to middling. I think it was on the upper middle end of the scale, John. But it's hard not to get pulled into that kind of feel-good factor, meeting familiar faces and all that kind of jazz. John, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm gonna. Well, I think again the 6 o'clock start is I think that's the first time I've started a race of that sort of ultra distance at that time of night. It's different. Like so things like the Black Rock 5 and the Brig Bash, there's evening things, but they're like 5 mile things. That's all right. But for an ultra distance race, it's the first one I've started at that time of the day. Race briefing was phenomenal. Loved it. Absolutely loved every second of it. Apart from it being very warm and people and Matt Lathwaite encouraging us to squeeze up really tight to people. I don't like that. But I really enjoyed the content of the race briefing. I thought it was perfectly timed, and Matt Lathwaite knows exactly what he's doing, as does Terry. The way they play off each other is really good. But the actual, it's going to call it the fairground, so it feels like at times. Even going for a pee, going there and back, you're going to meet somebody or recognise somebody and chat with them. And you mentioned Aldo, the Amble Pride folk had like a table, and you're walking past there, and you're going to stop and speak to folk. So the fanny about time that I spoke about last week, I never had that much of that really. It's my fault. I didn't want to go in. I went in your tent to get changed into my kit. It was roasting in there, you know, really warm. So I decided then that I would just get changed into my shorts and my t-shirt, but I stayed in sandals. I decided I would do the rest of that after the race briefing, but before the race start. So, but there's still people there, and yeah. So my head never. What I would say is, in the afternoon, my head never really got any space. But I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, though, because you sense that reuniting and meeting new folk, and that was good. But yeah, but that's simply because the race is at 6 o'clock. If the race started at, well, we've done the 50 before. Starting the 50 the next morning is fine. You've got all that rest of that evening, but it was just a different thing happening. Yeah.
Yeah. It does, and because I kept on looking at my watch and going, right, John, you've got 2 hours now until go time. And then it was like, you've got 45 minutes when you come out of registration. And then people are almost already starting to assemble at the start line around about that time as well. You've still got 50 people arriving, you know. In fact, I think there was a couple of late arrivals for the 100 right on the nose as well. I'm pretty sure that somebody arrived, rocked up at like 10 to 6. Where did I register for the 100? Well, what starts in 10 minutes time? Aye, well, I'm here.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, people, because there are quite a few people that had got accommodation somewhere else, or like Ambleside or whatever. So obviously, with us that staying at the campsite and staying there, you're around that buzz all day. But if you were staying somewhere else, then you do get that time to be preparing stuff just off site and eating, and then you can just turn up at, like say, 10 to 6, and to everyone else it feels really unorganized that they've just arrived and gone. But if it were an early morning start for a race, then that's probably what you'd do, isn't it? You'd wait, get there and go. So yeah,
the start line of the Montane Lakeland 100 is quite a special place, I think it's fair to say. Pretty unique in the UK ultra running scene, as far as I'm aware. 750 odd people are queuing up there. You're in amongst it all. John, I managed to track you down in amongst it all. Mel, I didn't actually see you to say good luck, so, but I didn't need 10 away. Ready. The razzmatazz kind of starts picking up maybe about 1:45, 10 to 6, is it, would you say? With the music building, the atmosphere building, and that Lake Road is absolutely rammed for the length of it on both sides with people. John, Mel, you've seen that happen before. What was it like to be part of it? What was it like to be in the starting pen?
Oh, just brilliant. I loved it. I loved it. Because every time you're just like looking around at everybody else, and then you spot somebody that you know just a little bit further away. So you're having a little wave, and everyone's just nervous and buzzing about. But oh yeah, I love that, being stood in the start area. It were really good. Like just waiting to go. And I think that's a plus side for the 6 p.m. start time, that if it was an early morning start, there's no way that amount of people would be lining the street through Coniston, is there? They just won't be there at that time. So when you set off and you go up the road, it's just, yeah, it's giving me goosebumps now. What? Just unbelievable when you're going up road, and it's like 5 and 6 people deep, and they stood up on the like pavements and climbed on walls and stuff like that, and you just like setting off and trying to look round and take it all in. It were brilliant, the start. Absolutely loved it.
You're talking about high donus. I was standing, a couple of listeners to the podcast came up and said hello in the start area, which was lovely. Got a couple of photographs with people too, loved that. But I noticed it was 20 to 6 and they played Heroes by David Bowie, and I was going, oh, it's a bit early for that. And I was like, come on, getting going. And then the sun was really hot at that time. So I'd had a hat on, but I was really aware of the heat. And yeah, you mentioned about people maybe arriving I'm not sure that they arrived late. They maybe arrived late into that area, because as you say, Stephen, some folk left the briefing and boom, they were just going there to sort of claim a spot. It was like going to a gig. You get in early to get near the front barrier, don't you? You know,
Yep.
So see you up the front, mate. Used to be the thing. It's a different kind of see you up the front now, isn't it? But there were people trying to worm their way through to get close to their pals and all that sort of stuff. So it was really good. And then before you know it, Nessun Dorma's getting belted out. You think, okay, we're going to kick off. And I'm pretty sure it started bang on 6 o'clock. I'm pretty sure it started bang on. So well done for the timing. Yeah.
Be bang on 6 o'clock. That's when the magic starts. No, it doesn't. The actual magic starts a wee bit before that. But watching you guys all stream out of the start line and away up Lake Road to take on the first climb, it is a really, really, really special place to be. If anybody's not experienced it before, even go along if you can, just to experience that race start. It's yeah, it might change your life. It starts with quite a tasty climb, and it's quite busy. How was that? I'd heard some reports that it was really busy. John mentioned that he felt there was too many people running it. Controversial, John.
Yeah, well, certainly, even that short distance, we're only talking 3/4 of a mile, if it is that, from the start. Mel would be way ahead of me by that point already. So Mel could speak about this, but I certainly got caught up in a bottleneck. I think they call it the Miners Bridge. I'm not quite sure, yeah?
Yeah.
You never put in this video, Stephen, eh?
It's all right. Just need some logistics. Just need some logistics planning, Ken.
Okay. But I got caught up at this Miners Bridge, and what had happened was when you go over the bridge and you took a right and went up, there was a little bit of a rocky patch, and people were sort of navigating their way through that slowly. So what happened was there was a bit, you could feel the tension, because if you're going for a time, some people I heard after was getting caught for 15, 20 minutes there before they actually got going again.
Yeah.
So I've never done the 100 before, or started the 100 before, so I'd never experienced that. I don't know if that happened in previous years, but certainly there was a lot of chat about it. Mel, what was your experience crossing that bridge?
Yeah, same. Because you went across the little bridge and then it went through a gate, didn't it? That everybody were trying to like funnel into. And yeah, it were the same. It were just you get those people, don't you? So everyone that was around me were pretty good, and they were all just waiting the turn to go through, and then you'd get one person just sprinting past everyone and trying to push their way through the gate, and you're just like, what? We're like half a mile in to a 105-mile race. Where are you trying to go so early on? But that were a little bit annoying. I don't know how they could do it any different. If they had maybe in the start pen you could seed yourself like sub 25 hours, but then you're relying on people to seed themselves, and we know that don't work, because at marathons that happens, people end up in the early pens. But you just have to, with people being honest. I heard a few people say that maybe instead of going up that way we went and then through the gate, just to go straight up the road. Obviously it's wider then, because you can get up the road, it comes out at the same place, which would make the course probably a little bit shorter, I think, because it'd be a more direct route, but everyone would be able to move up the road together rather than getting funneled through that little bit. But again, in grand scheme of things, you get caught maybe 15 minutes at the start or something like that. What detriment to your race is that over 104 miles anyway? Because it's better that than setting off too fast and blowing your balls out half a mile in, isn't it? When you've got another 30 hours or whatever it is race time, up to 40 hours for most people. Is that 15 minutes going to make that much of a difference? But I don't know, swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
It is, and you could say that's actually a good way just to quell
Easy.
your enthusiasm. Other people see it through a different lens, like you say. So, yeah. But Mel, you touched on this earlier. When the sun came out, it was warm on Friday. It was quite muggy as well. In terms of those early stages of the race, what were you thinking about the weather at all? Because the weather, we will get to the weather, and it did play a factor over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, the first climb, it were really, really warm, and there just never felt to be any air. I don't know if it were the humidity. There were quite a lot of people, even up that first climb, once we'd gone over and then down, that they were just saying they were struggling, like not struggling breathing, but struggling to get air in. And the first climb felt really just sweaty and close. But I never felt overly too hot. It would just sweaty. I don't know, it was weird. But once you went down then towards the first aid station, I didn't really feel the weather after that. We're just going up that first one, I think, because we were going up into the sun as well, one way.
Yeah, and it's a sizable climb, the first climb. I've never done it. Well, I've done it up to a point, just on a wee dot about run, but I've never done it myself. But it goes on 4 miles odd. the first
Mm.
climb. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest climbs in the whole course, actually, right at the start. You know, when you look across the whole 100 miles, there's Fusedale's the biggest, but this one, it's not, for want of a technical expression, it's not kicking the arse off it. You know, I was dripping going up there, absolutely dripping. Just reminded me, actually, this is what's happening. It's Monday, the day after the weekend, and it just reminded me the Jason, he messages us on Instagram. Livesey, I think is his last
Livesey.
name. Livesey is his last
Yep.
name. He was up there holding the gate open for runners going through, and he's shouting, "Come on, Cassidy!" And then you think, "Fuck, got to put a spurt on now." So did that. And nice to see Jason met us again over the weekend. So thank you very much for coming and saying hello, and thank you for holding that gate as well. But when that top of that climb, and Mel says the sun it was a lovely clear evening. That's when you get the views, man. The views are just absolutely stunning. I purposely never took any photos. I kept my phone away. I thought if I start taking photos, I'll be doing that all day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of these things. It's one of these moments you'll always remember. Just when you crest that hill and the Lake District just opens up, it's just one of these beautiful times to be there. The weather conditions at that point were perfect.
Just reminded me of something there, John. On Friday evening, I had the honour to interview Anne Shawley on the stage in the marquee. Anne was taking part in her 12th 50th Lakeland 50 on Saturday at the ripe old age of 72. And Anne's advice for those taking part in the first time was, when it gets dark, make sure you look up and look at the stars. The sky twinkling away. Was there stars twinkling away in the sky?
No, it was pissing then.
Well, that's where I'm going with this. That is where I'm going with this. The weather kind of broke during the night. The heavens opened. I was tucked up in my tent at this point in time, getting rudely awoken, and I was thinking, at least I'm not out there battling the elements. What time did that kind of come on at?
I have no idea. I can't remember when it actually started. I remember it started to rain first, I think. And it was one of those moments where you think, shall I put my coat on? Is it going to be a shower? You don't know how long it's going to go on for. But because it was so humid as well, I didn't really want to put my jacket on too early, because you just sweat with it on. So I remember we ran, I can't remember when it started. Oh, I think it was just after I'd left Buttermere, or just when I was just leaving the Buttermere aid station, and then you've got that horrible long climb out of there, aren't you? And we were going up there, and it started raining, jacket on, and then maybe got 200 meters further, stopped raining, started sweating, jacket off, stuffed it back into the bag, carried on a bit, maybe another half mile, raining again, jacket on, and then I just thought, oh, what's going on here? So I ended up leaving it on then. But because we were climbing then, the climb, I can't think what it's called, out of Buttermere, seems to go on for quite a long time, that one, when you're climbing. But we were just getting hotter and hotter on the inside with this waterproof jacket on, but it were raining. So yeah, but I've no idea what time it was. Absolutely not a Scooby.
This is a good indication of where Mel was and where I was on the course. Because when I put my jacket on, I was just heading up Black Sail Pass. And I thought, it started raining, and I thought, this could be a shower, get away with this. But then it got a bit heavier, and I thought, nah, pack off, jacket on, put it back on. There was a couple of times my jacket was on, the same as Mel, it was on, it was off. But then eventually I had it on. Did I have it on when I arrived at Buttermere? I think I might have, actually, because I'm not sure where we want to go with this, but the rain then, for me, made the conditions quite challenging, because it's a lot of rock and it gets slippy. But yeah, I'm not sure if you want to speak about that yet or not.
Well, let's go for it, because we've spoken before in our previous discussions about the Lakeland 50 around about how, let's just know, just cut through the shit here, how shite it is, and it's added, the shitness is added to by the rain that can often make the paths turn into streams, torrents, whatever, bogs turn into even boggier, grassy downhills turn into, you like Bambi on ice going down some of them. How did that rain affect the terrain that is already pretty kind of arduous going, even without rain?
For me, I had a conversation with a few people actually at the weekend about what kind of shoes would be good for that. And somebody told me a pair of shoes that they felt the grip was all right. Can't remember. It might come to me if it does. Or
Was it Las Sportivas?
maybe, but they had a good grip on wet rock. Because I'd said time and time again to people that I don't think there've been a pair of shoes invented that are good for wet rock, and these are, and we were talking about that. So it might have been the Las Sportivas, but certainly my experience was I was more cagey. If I can be more cagey going downhill, I was after that. I've got to say though, my Ron Hill jacket passed the rain test fantastically well. Absolutely fantastic jacket. Recommended. But going down, but
Is that the Ron Hill Mountain Equipment collaboration jacket, John?
It is, yes.
Okay, no worries.
But this time, Wendy Fraser from Glasgow, but she told me a number of times, born in air. That's important, right? So I was with Wendy Fraser going up Black Sail Pass, which is much friendlier in the night time. It sounds a scary thing, Black Sail Pass, but in the night time, when I can only see 10 feet in front of me in a head torch, it's no bother. It's just batter on. I like battering on and getting things done. So we were going up there, but coming crossing that, is it Scarf Gap, Mel, at the top of that? Is it Scarf Gap? I always think about Scar from The Lion King. That's what I think about. But that's where Gilly McGill and I got lost on the recce. So I did not get lost this time. That was not happening. But coming off of that, when you start going down, it's a wee bit technical to start with. And we had both poles out going down. At one point, Wendy she slipped and fell, and her pole got jammed between two rocks. And when she came up, her pole had a wee bend in it at the bottom. So, and then the next time she put her pole into grass, the bottom third stayed in the grass. So it snapped. So we were hoping to get to Buttermere and maybe get some gaffer tape or something around her pole. But unfortunately, that Wendy's race was sort of over because it took longer to come down then to get into Buttermere. So she missed that Buttermere checkpoint. I was able to use both my poles to get down there, but it was, as I say, I was a wee bit more cagey, and I was finding I was slipping all over the place. I was like Bambi on ice with bits when my foot hit the rock the wrong way. I was just skating would be the technical term I used. So for me, in my shoes, which are normally brilliant, that wet rock is not a good experience.
Now, Mel, you told us last week, if I remember correctly, that you were having a shoe change strategy at
Yes,
Dalamain. Did you do that?
I did, and it was a bad idea in the end, because what I'd remembered from the last 2 years when I'd done the 50, I'd wore my Pegasus Trail, the Gore-Tex ones, and my thoughts were that the first half was going to be a little bit boggier, so I wore the Innovate Trail Flies on that, non-Gore-Tex, because I thought they would get the water out, and then I was going to change to the Pegasus, thinking that the climbs and stuff on the second they're all like the slate, aren't they, and rocky, so I thought they'd be a little bit more comfortable. But what I should have done is just change my socks at Dalemain and then just put the Innovates back on, because after that it was so the Pegasus Trail are comfier, but they haven't got the grip, and because the climb up out of Fusedale and across the top was so boggy, they just held the water in them again, which I should have stuck with the Innovates. But the Innovate, so it's a Trailfly 300s that I wore. I didn't feel like I was slipping. They were great on that first half. I should have just stuck with them. They were comfortable, didn't slip on the rock, and they're great on the grit. It's weird because the terrain in that first half is so different. The climb out of Buttermere, the bottom bit is really muddy, so you're like slipping off. It were a really narrow path, wasn't it, John? Like the bottom of the climb. So 1 foot is constantly like slipping the right foot when you're trying to run, but your right foot's constantly slipping away because the path's on a bit of a camber and it were muddy. So, but the Innovates were great on that. And then obviously some of the descents then are on like the rocky terrain as well. So I don't think there's ever probably going to be a shoe that's going to be perfect for it all. But yeah, I thought the Innovates were great.
The bit that I have in my mind for you wearing Pegasus Trails on is the descent down into Haweswater, you know, down High Cop.
Oh,
which
yeah. Nightmare.
is bad enough at the best of times, let
Hmm.
alone with, you know, runners going down it, churning it up a little bit, and the torrential, let's say, there'd been torrential rain by this point overnight and into Saturday morning. Did you manage to stay on your feet?
No.
Cool.
No.
Quite glad of that. Soft landings.
Yeah, well, we were doing at that point. I was running with a lad called Danny for a bit as well, and every time one of us fell, if it was like one hand down, we were like, oh, 1 point, -1 point for a hand down, -2 points for both hands down, and if your ass touched floor, that were -5 points. So we were just having a bit of a laugh with each other. We're like, oh, you've lost 6 points there, Danny, because a hand and your ass down. So yeah, we were just trying to make fun of slipping all the time doing that, but.
Fine though if you've got sheep shit on your ass.
Well, yeah, it couldn't have been any worse than what happened at Spine. So a bit of mud were great. Oh dear.
Now, John, things unravelled for you, unfortunately, as I'm sure most of our listeners are I know, because us being the transparent bunch, we didn't like to hide all the warts and all that come with ultra running. What happened? What was the John Cassidy unravelling?
Oh, things unravelled way back before I got anywhere near this place. I've been plagued's too strong a word. I've got a sore knee. I've had a sore knee for a few weeks, and it came back and reminded me about that about 5 miles in, just over 5 miles in. So it's the sort of first sort of descent well, it's further on than the first bit of the descent into the first aid station. And my knee, it was just screaming at me. But I decided to carry on. But going up and on the flats are fine. The descents, it was absolute hell. And there's a fair old few descents in the Lakeland 100. And then, you know what? I think everything so far, we've been painting quite a bleak picture. It's a fucking brilliant event. So, you know, it's absolutely phenomenal. But we're talking about it, warts and all, so that's what it is. But that bit, I've just zoomed in on the map. I think that first climb out of Buttermere, Mel, is called Bleak Rig. Bleak is the right fucking word for that, right? So it's a hell of a climb. And I was describing this to Stephen. Once you get over the second water crossing, and you've described it perfectly, because this time of year as well, all the green stuff, the ferns and that are all growing. You can't get any sort of momentum. Because if you're using poles, they're just getting caught in the ferns, doing that. Yeah, so you get your poles up, and then you're skiting your feet to hit people behind you. There wasn't many folk behind me. I think I was maybe the trail, the back runner, like back marker by this time. But you're right, your foot's sliding off, and you can't get any sort of grip. And then you think you're just about there, then the bloody trail just almost goes vertical, you know? So the poles were good then. I was hanging off them to try and get a couple of gasps. But coming off of there, doing into Braithwaite, there's a nice, more gentle than coming off of Fusedale. It's a more gentle slope, grassy slope down after a rocky bit. And it's actually a wee bit pleasurable going down there. It was quite nice. But I had to be in Braithwaite by the latest at 6 a.m. to get there. But I'd known hours before that. I was late getting in, not late, I was chasing the checkpoints to Wasdale Head. First time that's happened for me in all the years of running I've done. You get in a checkpoint, and this time it was a guy dressed as Santa, said, "You've got 9 minutes to get out of here." I was like, 9 minutes? So I think I was about 90 seconds. Bought a couple of bottles and was away heading for Buttermere. Got to Buttermere with a few minutes to spare. Good old sprint finish to get in there because I was panicking about that. But I got into Braithwaite at 3 minutes past 6. I actually got to, I just want to give somebody a shout out here. I actually got to the aid station just after 6:15 because I met a wonderful, I might get a bit emotional here, wee warning, get a hanky, right? I met a wonderful person on the course called Jo, and I've just found out her name is Joanne Hazlitt. When I came into Braithwaite, just before you come into the village, you turn the right, and there's a bench sitting in the street, and Jo was sitting on that bench. I never knew it was Jo at that time. She's sitting on that bench. I said, "To you all right?" She says, "Aye." She's sitting with a bowl of rice pudding. The Braithwaite rice pudding, which I never got, it's almost like the Aston lasagna. It's a famous thing that happens seemingly in Braithwaite. I've yet to taste it. Doesn't mean I'll go back. But Joe's sitting with this bowl of rice pudding. I says, "You all right?" She says, "Aye." So I'm just trying to decide. I said, "Decide on what? If I carry on or not?" She had got in there in time to carry on, but she was probably questioning her life choices at this moment, shall we say. She's sitting on this bench. I said, "Well, you want to speak about it?" Me, as I am, "You want to speak about it?" She went, "Actually, I do." So I cleared the rain off the bench, sat down, packed my sorry ass, sat down, and Joe and I just chewed the fat for about 10 minutes. Then we had a hug, and I was walking away, and she went, "Have your ball bag?" Me, ball bags across my back. We'd spoke a few times in the night, but she said, "It's lovely to see you in the daylight, ball bag." So even in her emotional state, humour was there. Turned out the time I came out the checkpoint, I went in, they took off my tracker, and they do something else. Don't know what else they were doing. They were very kind. They gave me drinks and food and stuff in there. By the time I came out, Jo was walking back towards the checkpoint in her bare feet. So that decision had been made, that she wasn't going to carry on. But she shared some quite personal stuff with me, and I totally get why she chose not to carry on. I also met her back, introduced Jo to you, Stephen, when we got back, and she was much cheerier. Her partner was doing the race as well, and that all worked out perfectly. But this is me trying to, the way I work it in my head, if my knee hadn't been sore, I wouldn't have had that time with Jo. So I'm thankful I had that time with Jo. But yeah, things unravelled for me there. And I then got on that DNF bus for the first time in my life. The DNF bus was sitting in Braithwaite outside the registration. And before Jo had quit, I said, "Listen, you've got a choice. You can carry on. You can get on that fucking bus with me in the next 5 minutes." So it turned out Jo did get on that bus and announced to the bus that I was a ball bag. And there you go. So
John's race is over at this point. 33 miles in, the dream slipped away, but in typical John spirit, he didn't let that ruin his weekend by any stretch of the imagination. More on that later. Mel, you are battering on. Anyway, Mel, a message for John, please. A message for John.
What
Now,
message?
just to confirm that he did the right thing.
Yeah, of course he did the right thing. Yeah.
John and I have had a few conversations about it, haven't we, John?
yeah, we've tore it to bits, stitched it
We
back up, and then ripped it open again a few times. Yeah.
We have.
Wondering whether you did the right thing.
Well, no, I've no doubt. Steve had messaged me this morning asking how I was, and I think my reply was, I've been doing a bit of soul searching and looking for any regrets about Lakeland 100. I can't find any. So no, I'm not. I'd made peace with my decision long before I got near Braithwaite. I was comfortable. I knew what I was doing. I wanted I never wanted to. I decided to run until I was timed out. And I think my knee is happy that it happened at that stage. Yeah, no, I'm absolutely cool with what happened. I also got the chance, and we'll speak about this a wee bit more. I want to speak to Mel about the race, obviously. Because of everything that happened, I had the opportunity to see some quite remarkable things happen over the weekend. And I'm grateful for that as well. I also got to wear a Red Events t-shirt, and they give you free food. It's not like. So
Yeah, the silver linings were found pretty quickly, Mel. I think
100%.
that's what John's trying to say. Mel, for yourself, you ran quite a lot of the race with somebody who's really familiar to us.
Yes, I did. Yeah, Debbie. Met up with Debbie. So the first time I saw Debbie was we were stood next to each other in the start pen. Me, Debbie, and Spencer. We stood having a chat in the start, and then we set off and lost each other. And then I was sat. It was Braithwaite actually. I was sat on one of the tables at Braithwaite, changing my socks, shoveling jelly beans into my mouth. And Debbie, she does not mess about at aid stations. In, grab, go, no messing about. Top skills. So she came in as I was sat at the table, and she said, "Melly welly woo," and give me a little head nugget, and then she were off. So I got sorted, and then I think you come out of Braithwaite, and then you've got a really boring section on the edge of the road for about, I don't know how long that is, maybe a mile, before you get back to go up round Loughrig, not Loughrig. What's that one there? Whatever it is. Anyway, and then I caught up with her and a lad called Nathan who finished one place in front of me at the Spine Challenger last year. So Debbie and Nathan were together at that point. So all us lot went up that climb together, and then we ended up sort of toing and froing a little bit, but more or less stayed together till the end. Then Nathan, I looked up once I'd finished. His race ended at Dale Main, unfortunately for him. But yeah, he'd done the spine with me, and then there was another lad called Danny who I knew through Instagram, and we ended up together as well. So we had a good little group then. It was good.
I'm assuming the chat, it wouldn't have been quiet. It wouldn't have been a quiet time. There were plenty of discussion topics, I'd imagine, which helps while away the hours and the miles, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In a different kind of way. Different parts of your brain getting used, and before you know it, you're at the next checkpoint, which is nice. And yeah, hope you were picking Debbie's brain for some tips and things. She's got a world of experience,
Absolutely,
especially on that Pennine Way.
Yeah, on the little Pennine Way. Yeah. Oh yeah, it were good really. It's just it seemed to work really well. There were periods when we were like when I got with Jason when we were doing the spine, periods where you're chatting away, and then periods where you're both quiet for a bit. She probably got sick to death of me just coming up with random songs and singing all sorts of stuff, but it seemed to work quite well, and we sort of kept each other going, ran a bit, walked a bit as it got further on into the race, and then as my main aim was to get past that horrible Haweswater section before the 50 came past. Because I remember when I was doing the 50 last year, going on there, and I just felt so sorry for the 100 runners. It actually felt on the side of there even worse this year because the ferns were so high that you couldn't look down to see where you were putting your feet either. So I think a lot of people had injuries on that bit. But yeah, we managed to get past there and out of Mardale checkpoint before the 50s came past. So I was over moon with that.
See, on that, you spoke earlier on about going down Fusedale and that points for your hand or your bum or two hands. I think even things like that, change your mindset, have a bit of fun and make it, because you can go to dark places in your head You know, but by having that wee bit of laugh, and I think I said to both you and to Badwater Debbie, after the race, that what I said was, I bet that was a quiet run you were on, because you can both talk. But you need that. You need
Yeah, you
that,
do.
especially for that type of race.
Mhm.
And you know, and you mentioned about Haweswater, but I'd like to take it back. How were you feeling at Dalemain? Because that's probably halfway-ish, isn't it? You've got 46 miles or something left there.
Yeah.
How were you feeling there? Because that's quite that's where the 50 starts. What was
Yeah.
your mind and your body like at Dalemain, Mel?
I felt, well, one of my things was to get there feeling as good as possible, as good as you can after you've run 59 miles and been soaked through the early hours. But yeah, I felt fine when we got to Dalemain. One of the volunteers there made me 2 cups of tea. The first one, terribly disappointing, really pale, just over milked. It looked like a milkshake rather than a tea. But another volunteer came over and he looked in the teacup. He said, "Do you want me to make you a proper one?" And he came back, Yorkshire tea, proper colour, nice dark, like tea's supposed to be. And he just gave me a wink when he handed it over. So he knew the first one would have been terrible, bless him. And I had a bowl of just plain pasta, just shoveled plain pasta in because I didn't want anything. I don't know, does this happen to you when you're doing the long races? Your mouth feels horrible. Like, I don't know, anything that's got a strong flavour or a strong taste after a certain amount of time, like, just feels really weird to eat. So I didn't want anything. I can't remember what sauce it was with the pasta, but I would just shovel in plain pasta in. So I had that, 2 cups of tea, changed my shoes, didn't bother changing my top and shorts. I did have spares in my bag. Lubed up the old feet again, and yeah, felt good. When I left the tent, you know, Ascent Fitness Steve, he was
Oh
stood
yeah.
outside the tent, so that were he'd gone to watch some of his athletes that he coaches set off on the 50. So as soon as I popped out the tent, he was stood there. So bit of a knuckle bump and a hug and just little stuff like that. Just somebody turning up somewhere where you're not expecting them to be. I didn't know you were going to be there, but someone had come up to me in the tent saying, "Oh, one of your mates is outside." So you set off and it feels like starting again in a different race then. So you've got to that point, ticked it off in your head. I know this second half because I've done the 50 before. You've had something to eat, and yeah, you just you set off again.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
There's a picture actually of a lad called Wayne who I know via Twitter. He was working at that checkpoint, so he came over with this massive bag of, I think it were like 500 Yorkshire tea bags, and he holds this big bag up. So there's me, him, and a massive bag of Yorkshire tea bags on a photo that's on Twitter. I'll send it to you both after this. It's great.
You tell your passion for tea when you were describing the weak one as opposed to the good one that you got. So fair play to that, Marshall. Must have been a Yorkshireman that
Oh
came up
yeah,
and did
he
that
definitely
rescue. Yeah.
was. He definitely was. I didn't catch his name unfortunately, but yeah, he gave me the little wink when he handed a proper coloured tea over. He knew. He knows his tea score.
And then, like you said, Mel, it's a familiar route for the 50 from there onwards. The 50 runners would eventually have caught up with you after, I'm assuming, after Mardale Head, yeah?
Yeah.
And the sharp end of the 50 are moving quite freely. You feeling jealous at that point, seeing them flying past you?
Honestly, the guy who was in the lead, so you come out of the Mardale Head checkpoint and you go up that bloody horrible stony, is that Gates
Eight car.
Garth? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sort of winds up and then it levels off a bit and then it goes again further in front. So I just got to the top of the first windy bit and it came past me, just unbelievable. And I watched him and he ran all the way up the hairpins of the second one on the massive boulders. He would just, I was just like staring at him as he were going up. I've just never seen anyone run uphill like that before in my life, but that's why he's doing it in 7 hours, something in it. That's where he's making the time up. And then the lad in second, just as the lad in front got to the top, the lad in second then came past me, and I said to him, bloody hell, he's not hanging about, is he? And he said, can't get anywhere near him. And then he carried on as well, yeah. So I think he was just in awe as well, the lad that were in second, and he was shifting. He was shifting as well, but God, just another level, the speed that they were going up there. But I was glad that I was past that horse water bit, yeah, because that's not so nice on there.
I must say, at this point in time, we were tracking you on the Open Tracking website, and we clocked the fact that your times were matching Mel's and stuff. So we're having a bit of a analysis of that back at Race HQ, going, that's a smart move.
They're still together.
They're still together. And then at one point in time, I think Robbo, who had, he was like, oh no, they're apart. Somebody's made a move, but I think it was a false reading on the Open Tracking.
I think sometimes like there were just black spots, weren't there, on the tracker in different bits, and then they caught up again. But we were together. So Debbie left Dale Main just before, maybe 2 or 3 minutes just before me, but we were together at Pooley Bridge then, and then that were it till the finish. I didn't let her go. I was clinging on.
Fantastic. And like what time of day did you cross the finish line? It was darkness had descended on the second night, of course. I'm just trying to think what time of day
midnight.
It was. Yeah, because we were thinking I should be about 11, half 11, and then it was like this side of midnight, please. Those latter stages that come after Chapel Style, when it is dark again, and having experienced that part in the wet before, it quite like fucking purgatory, shall we say.
Oh, horrendous, absolutely horrendous. That bit so we got to Ambleside, we were happy, chatting away, still at Ambleside. Obviously there's some photos and we're smiling. There were a big crowd there. That were great. We got to Chapel Style, and I think we shared a coffee. We had a coffee in my little smiley mug. Which, do you know what? A mug with a massive smile on it. Early on in the race, every time I got him out, I was like, oh, that's good. And then he was still smiling at Chapel Style when you feel like shit. And when I got the mug out, I was just like, oh, what are you smiling at? Even stuff like that starts to annoy you then, doesn't it? You've got this mug, you feel like absolute death with a coffee in it, and you're looking at it smiling away, and oh yeah, I could have thrown it. Anyway, I drunk half the coffee, passed it to Debbie, she necked the other half. And then that's when Sam, who was the lady that came in with us at the finish, she came into the Chapel Style checkpoint while me and Debbie were sat there. So we're all having a bit of a chat then in the Chapel Style checkpoint, and then she came over to me and Debbie as we were leaving, and she says, oh, am I all right to come with you? And we're like, yep, come on, we're in it together. So we all stayed together then till the finish, just marching it out. But that last bit from Chapel Style, yeah, that were horrendous. I think it gets to the stage where you need something different to eat, but you're not sure what you need. So I'd been shoveling pick and mix in for most of the race. I'd had my tailwind and I'd gone with pick and mix, but my teeth were furry, my tongue were furry, my mouth were just stinging every time I tried to eat something then. But yeah, so I had a cheese sandwich, which that helped a little bit because they're just a bit soft, aren't they, and a bit like blandish. So I'd had cheese sandwiches at Ambleside and Chapel Style, but I think I probably needed like a proper meal by then. I mean, you're gonna do I don't know what I don't even know what time of day it was when we were there, but yeah, probably could have just done with something else to get me to finish, but I didn't want anything weird.
I like how it sounds like there was a bit of an unspoken pact made at Chapel Style, as if to say, right, let's get this bloody done.
Yeah,
Cheers,
absolutely.
here's a coffee. Cheers, right, let's go get this.
Yeah, you're close enough to the finish then, but it's
14
still
miles, is it?
um
I want to
what,
say. No, 10.
yeah, yes it is, yeah, it's 10 because we
Yep.
knew like that's Debbie were breaking it down to like, right, as next point is there's an unmanned checkpoint, isn't there, just as you come across that boggy bit. She were like,
Compulsory
right,
checkpoint 2.
yes. So we're like, so we're like, right, we just break it down. First one, unmanned checkpoint. Then there's the Tilberthwaite one, and then you've just got the 3.5 miles to the finish. But you've got the climb.
The Jacob's Ladder climb
Yeah.
comes at what 101, 102 miles in on the
Yeah.
second night, and I think it's one of those ones for me. It's a standalone climb. It would, if you were out doing like a 10-mile run or something like that and you hit that, you'd be cursing it a bit, but it's, right, okay, I'm glad that's behind me. But 102 miles into the run in the dark,
Mhm.
in the slippy, wet with Pegasus trails, for Gore-Tex on, it
Yeah,
must have
not
been
so
a bit of a
nice. It's
challenge.
not so
Yes,
nice by then, no.
yes. And you hear water rushing about you at both sides, and you're thinking, what's in that abyss? What is down in that abyss
Yeah.
to your right hand side?
And you can't really look when you've got your head torch on. You're looking at the ground in front of you, and if you're trying to move at the same time, even though you can hear the water, you can't really look to the side to see
Mhm.
it, because then you're just completely off balance then, aren't you, because you're just looking at your head torch. And we're absolutely knackered by then, because obviously with a 6 p.m. start time, you haven't just got your what was then 27-hour race time, you've got the whole of the Friday day when you were away. So it's actually a longer time that you've been awake in it than as if it
Yeah.
were a morning start.
I'm
So
glad you got to experience it this year, because when you did the 50, you did that in the daylight because you were that bloody fast. So you've got the full Jacob's
horror
Ladder
show.
experience this year, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, you're soon on a lovely descent into Coniston.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
lovely my arse.
Yeah. The top of that were frustrating, because by that time, I don't know what time, race time, the 50s would have been on by then. But obviously there must have been a lot of 50 runners that wanted a pre-midnight finish
Yes,
time.
yes.
And we were buggered, absolutely buggered by then. We were trying to stay together. We were trying to navigate the descent. Really, really tired, and some of the 50s were absolutely flying past, so we were getting knocked, like you're trying to step off some bits and you're just getting knocked to the side. So that were a little bit annoying. Most people were great, and they were sort of waiting until there was a bit that you could pass, because there is bits of that descent where it opens out. We were all trying to stay sort of in single file to the left as we were going down, so people could get past, but we still got the odd one or two that were just trying to jump down a slippy, dark, wet descent, obviously to get their times, but they just got knocked over twice or 3 times down there, which were a bit of a shitter, really.
They also
But
didn't know who they were messing with.
no,
I
stab 'em
think
with the balls.
you would have probably found that some of them would have been 50 runners trying to get sub 12 hours, because the 50 started a bit late because of a bit of water issues at Dalmain with the buses getting in and out and things like that, I believe.
Right.
So it's kind of and the waves were going off a bit late, so some of them were nearer 12 o'clock before they started, 12 noon, rather than 11:30. So you'd have probably found that they were maybe gunning to try and get their sub 12. I'm just giving them a wee bit of a get out for, running royalty, such as you guys, yeah, you're glad to see the Copper Mine Road, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
When you hit onto that, it becomes a bit more familiar for your feet.
Yeah, after running, I'm going to say after running, but we haven't been running for, definitely not, there was no running after Tilberthwaite, so because you're just climbing up, but then you try and start to run again after you've gone down that descent, and your quads are just absolutely screaming. By then, the bottom of my feet, because they'd been in the Pegasus foot baths for however many hours, were really, really sore. The balls of my feet were really sore. So even the downhill bit were just, but you're so close. It's just that awkward thing. Whereas, if you run, it's going to be over quicker, but you can't run. So you do like 2 or 3 steps and then you walk again. But me and Debbie had a little bit of a thing going where, and this is the good thing when you're with somebody else. So all through like that chapel style where it was a bit flatter, one of us went 3, 2, 1 jog, and then we'd jog for maybe, I don't know, 300 meters, walk again, and other one would say 3, 2, 1 jog, and that kept us going, because it's so easy once you start walking to keep walking. And when you're on your own, you probably keep walking for longer than you needed to. But with there being 2 of us, we were like, right, we'll run to the next tree, we'll run to this, we'll run to that. So that were really good, because we kept each other shuffling on that last bit.
I like that. I like that. But you can start, once you've got that into your conscious rather, you can start actually playing that on your own as well, just with your imaginary friend.
Yeah.
So and let's say you cross the finish line together, hand in hand.
I
That was
know.
a special moment in race history, wasn't it?
Trying to use that handhold to try and suck some of her running ability out of her. trying to pass it on.
Well, was there 5 years cross the finish line at the same time?
Yeah, there were 5 of us. Yeah, so there was me, Debbie, Sam, who'd been with us since Chapel Style, so 3 women, all vet 40s. Go for it, old birds. And then 2 guys, John and Dave, who had been, so they'd been with Debbie before me, and Debbie ended up together. We were toing and froing with them. They'd been sort of around us for quite a lot of the race. So yeah, there were 5 of us that finished together.
Fantastic. And you get that wonderful reception and welcome back into the marquee at 10 to 12 on Saturday evening, where the spectators have been enjoying the festivities on offer in the marquee. Runners are coming in, 50 finishers are coming in. It's quite a raucous place, is it fair to say? Is that when you come in, it's quite almost sensory overload.
Yeah. Well, it was with the aid stations as well. Some of those, when we went into them, it were a little bit overwhelming, because they'd just been, say, me and Debbie for maybe 5 hours, something like that, and you'd just been nattering to each other. You get to an aid station, and then all of a sudden it's, right, what do you want? What do you need? And you're just like, I don't even know what day it is. I don't know what I need. Just pass me something. So, but then same when you get to the finish, you've had your little group and you've been in your little bubble. We knew that. So Dave, who was with us in our little group, he's a run coach. He knows every inch of the Lake Districts, knows his stats, knows his timing. So we became, I think it were probably about maybe just before Tilbuth Way, we decided that if we got in before midnight, we could get under 30 hours. So it was Dave that had been saying to us, come on, if we just like run this bit, we might get in on before midnight. So when we managed it, it was just brilliant then. And then, like I say, going to the tent where everyone's been on the old beers all day. And there's just a massive cheer goes up when you come in. The finished video is just ace. I absolutely love it.
So do
and
I.
Then
So does
you
John.
2 were there, obviously.
Obviously.
Well, we were sitting with Robbo at a table, and another few guys. Great company, actually, brilliant company Saturday night. And Robbo's on it. She's coming. So we made her way outside. It was quite spectacular. Even at that, you mentioned earlier, Mel, it's a different thing when the finishers are coming in. But even at that time, Lake Road was busy with people, because they've got friends and family and maybe running pals that are coming in, whether it's the 100 or the 50. And I've got to say, it's bloody hard when you're looking at people coming down, they've got a head torch on. They try to figure out who the hell they are, because we know you've got longer hair, so we're looking for the hair, and we're looking for the visor and all that sort of stuff. And Debbie's got similar build and hair, so we're saying, where are they when they're coming in? And there's all these folk, and you say about the 50s, Stephen, wanting to get the sub 12. they're leathering it down that road. You
Yeah.
know? And then eventually, what we now know is 5 head torches come round the road at the same time, holding hands. It was really, really emotional and really nice. And just to clarify, your finish time was 29 hours, 52 minutes and 52 seconds. Sub 30 was nailed. So if that fella was doing the calculations, he got it spot on. Well done.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Yeah.
And that was a 5th place equal finish.
Yes, the 3 of us, yeah, 3, me, Sam and Debbie, although Debbie's time's, I think, 10 or 11 seconds quicker than mine and Sam's, but I'm claiming we were all 5th. I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
Well.
Debbie claimed that at the presentation ceremony. She had a wee shell like wee word in Mark's ear and sorted that out. So it was all good, yeah. Women, what was it? Here for the women's race is the T-shirt that Debbie's son was wearing. So that was
it?
well represented, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
was first vet 40s as well, the 3 years.
Yeah. Well, I'll take first vet 40s as well.
Absolutely. And
That's one thing I find with, especially with trail running and mainly the ultras, not so much in the shorter races, but the longer distance ones. There's like, I don't know what it's like for being a man doing those races, but the women are so supportive of each other. So I would imagine if there was like 3 blokes that they were all the same age category, after so long, one would just either try a little dip foot line or, like a little tactical couple of second sprint. But the women in the ultra racing scene are they're just so like helpful with each other and so friendly. Everyone tries to get each other to finish, and that was the thing when we were running as well, with all these, when the blokes were knocking us over. No women knocked us over.
So, and for everybody listening, valuable lesson there.
Yeah.
Valuable lesson there. Yeah, it's about, I think what I witnessed on Saturday, and the whole place in the I should call it the fairground, on the course, and then back in the fairground, was everybody being really supportive of each other.
Yeah.
I'm talking about marshals, I'm talking about the medics, the medical team, I'm talking about the people who were there, who I saw in the afternoon and were asking me, what the bloody hell's going on? They were just in Coniston, and I explained what was happening. Found them later on in the marquee having a pint. They were in and they were just lapping up, So who knows? They might be back next year to maybe sign up for the race. But I think the whole thing is about that. It's quite a unique environment for me, certainly. I don't find myself in that type of environment every single week, but I've been there a number of times in the lakes and it's absolutely fantastic. But no, I think you're right, Mel. Maybe the male guys can learn a bit from the ladies with regards to a wee bit of etiquette, a bit of courtesy in there. Support each other, yeah. I like that. But well done. Fantastic
Definitely.
running.
And just to round up the ladies' race, Robin Cassidy was the winner in a brilliant time of 23 hours, 2 minutes, 47 seconds. Lucy Gossage, ex-Ironman champ, in second place, 23:37. And Daria Bodnar, Ukrainian girl, in third place, 25:41. It was an exciting finish, and John spoke earlier on about some of the benefits of dropping out and getting to see these guys cross the finish line at the end of their epic effort was one of those, I'm sure, John.
Oh, it's quite amazing. Quite amazing. I still don't understand how people can move so fastly around the course and that terrain. And she say there were 3 Cassidys started the 100 on Friday night. Only one finished, and she won it. Robin won it. The other Cassidy was a Helen Cassidy who met the same fate as myself and never got to cross that finish line. But fear not, Helen, we're all in it together, us Cassidys. And it turns out that Robin Cassidy's dad is called John Cassidy. So, and Robin Cassidy's a listener to the podcast. Stephen did a brilliant job of interviewing all the winners live on the Montane Lakeland Facebook page. So brilliant kudos to Stephen for doing that, because it brings it into people's homes or their phones, wherever they might want to be viewing it. And I've got to say, I got to witness most of them standing behind Stephen, just taking photographs and being in that area. And all the winners, it's like you see the football players being interviewed after a game, how they can be so composed and speak and even string a sentence together amazes me. But they were all really humble and speaking about how much they'd enjoyed the course. You know, it was brilliant. So well done to you, Stephen, for doing that and facilitating that. But well done to all the winners who came in. Yarlith McKenna, setting previous guest of the show, friend of the show, set a new course record in the men's race. Mark Derbyshire in the 50, Mark Derbyshire smashed his own record in the 100. Phenomenal.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, just to round up the men's 100, Mark Derbyshire in first place with 18:45, lopping like 25 minutes off his own course record for 2021. Gavin Dale in second place, who I know that Gavin and Mark had a good battle out there, a friendly battle, 1901, and Kim Collison, who also spent a lot of time running as a trio with Mark and Gavin. Kim Collison, previous guest of the show as well, 19 hours 22. It was quite the podium over in the men's 100, but that course record, that'll take some beating, especially with the terrain as it was. And yeah, like John says, Jarlath McKenna taking the men's win at the 50 with 7:17. 15 minutes off the course record there. Michael Kenyon, who put up a hell of a battle with Jarlath, finishing in 7:30. Again, that is the second fastest time ever. And Dan Thacker in third place in the men's 50 results with 7:34. We met Dan last year also, and he remembered meeting us at the end of the 50 last year because he refused to shake her hand for a reason that John will tell you.
He was covered in shit. But he remembered us. And he gave us a very firm handshake this year, and it was a pleasure to do that with him. He had a great day.
He did.
Yeah.
And over in the women's, just to round up the results, the 50 for the women's, Catherine Williamson ran an epic race at 8:25 and won that by quite a substantial time difference from second place. Hannah Rickman in 9:18, which is still as impressive, and Anna Kluknicka on third place with 9:36 to round up the ladies 50 podium. These are all just awe-inspiring times, and it was great to, like I say, get to witness them all finishing and speak to them as well. How good's that? Pinch myself.
I have a secret question for Mel.
Oh, no.
It's not to do with Jason. Right? I was messaging back and forth a wee bit today with Gillian McGill, who also finished the Lakeland 100.
She did, yeah.
Oh, got to compose myself and not get emotional thinking about that. That was honestly, really. Right, ask the question. Oh, if anything went wrong, what did she do to address it? There's 1.5 questions. That's the first question.
If anything went wrong?
Yeah, if anything went wrong during your race, how did you fix it?
Do you know what? I don't think anything actually went wrong.
Okay.
As such, I mean, the usual, you feel like shit, you need something to eat, but it's not really things that go wrong. That's just stuff that you sort out. Yeah, that's just racing. As far as anything actually going wrong in a bad way, obviously we fell over a little bit, but that's sort of part of the race. But yeah, my fueling went well. The only thing I wouldn't do again is change my trainers. But as far as any big problems, didn't.
Well, it sounds like a good race execution.
Yeah.
So brilliant. So you'll have learned a lot of lessons from things you've done before. So maybe things that went wrong before, you've righted and you've put them into practice.
Yeah.
The half question is, Did Robbo wash your trainers for you when you got up the road?
No. Did he wash them?
Yeah.
No, why? What happened? Did something happen to my trainers that I
No,
don't know
no.
about? Oh,
It's what happens at the end of a race when Gillian does it is Tony, her husband, best supporter ever, removes her trainers and her socks and does the washing of that sort of stuff. She was wondering if the same happens for you, the Robbo.
No, but what he did help me get into the 10, obviously, and get sorted out. So it was, I don't know how I would have managed that on my own. Well, I would have managed it, but it probably taken me 4 hours, 4 hours longer than it did do. But that's the thing with those races. A lot of people just turn up at them and do them on their own, don't they? So you forget that you appreciate that Robbo, who would never ever do anything like that and thinks I'm batty for doing it, which most people do. Most of my friends that don't run just don't understand it. But he comes to the races, helps out. Obviously, when I finished, we were sat at that table. He went and got me a can of Coke, got me a pizza, like went and got my clothes from the van so I could put some jogging bottoms on because you're cold and you're wet, put a hoodie on. So there's a lot of people that don't have anyone to help them at the end of a race. So yeah, you're always really grateful that there's somebody there that's willing to do that and help you get changed.
2 conversations I had with Robbo at the weekend. One Sunday morning, before the presentation, I was sitting talking to Robbo about something and he went, you know, this isn't normal. Other people, this isn't normal for everybody. You know, we're talking like that. But the last conversation I had with Robbo on the Saturday night, well, Steve and Robbo and I, we were trying to work out how many pints Robbo had, right? And we're going through it and we're talking, I'm not going to say the numbers, but he said, well, technically that's not right because that can is not a pint. And then we're then trying to do the mathematics about how many pints there had actually been. So fair play to Robbo being, well, Robbo was fine, but going and doing that and being supportive and getting your clothes and getting you food. Because at that time, you can't think for yourself. You're just sitting there. It's almost literally like a rabbit in the headlights, aren't you? You're just sitting there. You're glad it's finished. And it's almost like somebody, please look after me. You know, and Robbo was that guy. So well done.
Yeah. And he'd
Well
been
done.
over to Ambleside, him and Steve, so he'd gone up with his mountain bike. So he'd cycled over to Ambleside to see me go through there. So I don't know if I do feel sorry for him. He got to ride his bike. He got to just sit in the tent and drink beer all night. He's probably had an absolutely great weekend.
No, he was
But no,
miserable.
yeah, I do appreciate that he comes over and deals with all the stuff that he's just a bit of a faff when you finish that sort of race. Your brain's a complete mush in it. So you don't know, and I probably wouldn't have gone and got myself something to eat at the end if I'd have been on my own. I'd have just tried to crawl back to the van to try and sleep. But yeah, he sorted everything out, bless him.
You managed to sit quite a wee while in our company at the end as well, which was great because I'm sure the chat was absolutely flowing from John, myself, and our company.
Oh yeah, it was.
What
Yeah.
the hell have they been drinking?
Well, you look like you'd had a good few hours. Well, yeah, many hours of
Well,
fun.
2 or 3 just, come on. Yeah. It was great fun. It was great fun, and I really enjoy Robbo's company. So in the aftermath, Mel, your feet must have been a bit of a. In fact, I did see a photograph that you maybe put up on Twitter or something.
Oh
Your,
yeah.
a feet pic. Just that, like you said it really well. Pegasus 4 baths. Was that what it was? That was waterlogged feet. Was there any more
Yeah.
lasting damage than that?
No, they've dried up today. It was just what they look like after the race. But I don't know. I'm blaming the shoe, but I've seen other people's foot pictures. Not that I collect them. That'd be weird. But
Yeah.
I've seen other ones that people have posted. Gazzy Chew, Debbie's, and everybody's feet look the same, and they weren't in the
Yeah.
Gore-Tex Pegasus. So it wasn't the shoe's fault. Obviously, it was just that the ground was so wet, and a lot of the climbs, a lot of the descents was like you were just running through a river. So even on the shoes that were expelling the water, just that amount of time in wet socks is going to do that to people's feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it.
There was some cracking foot pictures, for anybody with a particular like for that sort of thing. Head on over to X for look at the hashtag Lakeland foot porn. I'm sure there shall be quite a lot of additions to that. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it doesn't really appeal to me, the 100. So
It doesn't.
no,
No.
no. Much enjoy the weekend. It's an absolute stunning of a weekend from the other side.
John.
Woohoo.
Hi, Mel.
Hello.
The only thing that got in my way was an injury. That's what I would say. It wasn't a case of the course was hellish. It wasn't what I wrecked the whole thing. It wasn't what I was. There wasn't anything I wasn't expecting. It was only an injury that stopped me. So it doesn't feel like there's an exceeding scratch right now, but it's Monday. So let's leave that there.
That's not a hard no.
No, it's not a no.
Never say
Brilliant.
never.
And any last thoughts or reflections on what has been another topper down in Coniston?
Mel.
I spent the last 60 miles saying, I am never doing this again. This is horrendous. I hate this. This has gone on too long. My feet hurt. Everything hurts. But I have already checked to see what date the ballot opens for next year. So Gazitude as well. Obviously, he was there at the end. He came over, and I said to him, "What do you think of that?" And he was like, "Nope, never again. One and done. Hated it. Don't need to go back. Done it now." So it'll be interesting. I'm going to ask him to see how he feels today, because I said the same to him. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm never doing that again." But now the little niggles there, and so I would think I'll definitely go back next year, whether I'm running or not. I'd like to go and volunteer as well. But do you get a little bit of thinking that you're missing out if you go and volunteer? I don't know.
Year about volunteer race,
Yeah.
volunteer.
I think I would say I'll definitely be there next year, whether that's doing the stuff with Stephen, which I think I can like that more than running, to be honest. Just I love speaking to people and being with people. Really enjoy that. But seeing people coming in, achieving dreams and lots of tears and pride, and I just love it. There's a lot of people must, before they start thinking, can I do this? And when they actually achieve that, it's something magical. And to be able to just witness that, never even speak to folk, but just to witness some of these emotions is quite special. So what I would say to anybody is, put your name in the ballot. Don't even hesitate, because you might not get a place for it, and then you can think, well, at least I tried. But if your name comes out, then you've got a year to prep for it, and it's more than that. One thing I would say is, if you can, get involved with the recce, get your foot on the route and understand, because it is a mega challenge, the 50 or the 100.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge that you will be so proud of once you've completed it. So, as they say about here, go and get tore in.
It was a chance for us to meet and spend time with people who John and I were speaking about this in the car on the way home. We've only ran into because of this podcast. Mel, you're in that crew of special people. But there's this circle formed for John and I of people who get our crack, get the fun, get the serious stuff that we speak about from time to time. Do you know the guys for the Brig Boys podcast who we got to meet for the first time, that we've having a bit of banter with online? Great guys, both of them done brilliant during the race, but it was more just getting to see them in person, and that's just they're just in a list of many, and I don't want to go through it because I'd guarantee to miss some top people out. But it's just kind of life affirming stuff for me. It's magic. It's great to be a part of.
Definitely.